What is going on, guys? Jake here, Miami Dolphins Syndicate. As you see, I'm in a very different location from where I was recording previously. I have moved, and that is why you haven't seen me over the last couple of weeks, and I'm still far from done from unpacking. I'm still far from done from doing my setup. Probably the next time you see me record, it'll be a very different looking background. Yeah, there's an absolute mess going on in the background that you guys don't see. I'm looking at a TV to my right instead of a monitor that's literally laying on my bed. It's an absolute mess. We're in shambles here, but we press on. It's been a couple weeks since I've got to talk to you guys, and I'm going to start things off as it's not officially, but it's officially the summer now, and there's a lot of questions with the Miami Dolphins of what's going to happen over the next few months before we get into the season. And even some of these questions maybe we won't necessarily be able to answer until the season kicks underway, but I just want to take a look at what are the biggest questions going into the offseason and going into the summer for the Miami Dolphins. And without question, the number one question for the Miami Dolphins is the contract situations of Tua and Tyreek Hill. The Tyreek Hill one is a little more simple, so I'll cover that first. With Tyreek Hill, he just simply wants a contract extension. He's already amongst the top paid receivers in the league. When he signed the extension with the Dolphins, that gave him the crown as the top paid receiver in the league. But he just wants more years, more money, and that's pretty simple. And he's already made his money. He's already come out and said that he wants to be a team guy throughout the process of making that next contract. He wants to focus on helping the team for the now, as well as trying to get that money off in the background. So that one I feel like is a little easier. And if he doesn't get paid, I don't think he's going to be holding out or anything like that. But there is definitely a bigger question mark when it comes to Tua in his contract situation. As again, Tyreek Hill's already gotten paid. Tyreek Hill's already gotten those contract extensions. He's already gotten the big money, the big contracts in his career, and he's looking to cash in a little bit more, of course. But he's already pretty rich. He's already got himself a pretty good bag in the background that he's gotten from both the Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins. With Tua, he is looking for that first long-term contract extension, and the way the quarterback market is going, he is going to get over $50 million. Now, I've said on camera, on this microphone multiple times that I absolutely do not want to give Tua Tagovailoa over $50 million for the Miami Dolphins. However, that's just the reality of the situation. He is going to make over $50 million. And when Tua spoke on it, I think it was last week when Donovan made the video for you guys about 5 or 6 days ago, the way that he made it sound was, for one, as about mature and good as he could have handled that, considering he's openly talking about money and where him and the team currently have there's some room to come together and make that agreement. He handled it very mature, but the way he made it sound was as if they're not too far apart, but certainly too far apart to compromise. And that's where we still stand here today, as just another week passes where Tua hasn't got his contract. I thought it would have happened by now, and it clearly hasn't. So all eyes are going to be on Tua and the Miami Dolphins. I like to think that this comes to be before the season starts, as he is in his 5th year as a Miami Dolphin. So it is pretty important to get this done with, so we don't have to go into the season with that looming over the Miami Dolphins' head, looming over the team's head. We had that happen with Christian Wilkins last year, and being a defensive tackle and being somebody as free-spirited as Christian Wilkins is, as uplifting as Christian Wilkins is, it wasn't a distraction. However, Tua, the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, and he clearly deserves and wants to get paid. That is something that's going to have to happen eventually. It will happen eventually. As for now, though, we're just sitting back and watching as Dolphin fans, wondering when it's going to happen. Question number 2 is, what overall is this year 3 Mike McDaniel offense going to look like? Typically with quarterbacks, maybe less now than it was in the past, but you were typically seeing quarterbacks given 3 years to figure out who they are. And after year 3, you either got it or you don't. Mike McDaniel certainly has it, and I by no means am questioning whether he's the right coach for the Dolphins. I'm just curious as to what this offense is going to look like. Now he's gotten 2, actually really 3 full off seasons to build the offense to what he would like, and there's certainly plenty of talent around. And again, this is usually around the time where you see quarterbacks and even head coaches really blossom into who they are as play callers, as schematic geniuses, and whatever titles you want to claim to them. For the first 2 years under the Mike McDaniel offense, while it is clear that he wants to go to multiple options and wants to be able to have the defense guessing at all times, the offense has primarily, especially in the passing game, gone directly through Jalen Waddle and even more so in Tyreek Hill. There hasn't been that large variety of weapons in the passing game. In the rushing game, it still along those lines. However, with Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson the first year, and then Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane last year, and then a conglomerate of guys behind those guys, it was kind of a you kind of saw Mike McDaniel start to get what he wanted with that. You have Raheem Mostert, who can run more between the tackles, which is crazy considering that is not a label that you would assign to Raheem Mostert ever, but within this Dolphins team, you have the bigger guy in Raheem Mostert who can run between the tackles, Devon Achane, who's somebody that can pick up big plays in the ground game. Now you look at this passing offense, which at one point, like I said, was almost directly, entirely through Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Now you have more options. Now you have 3 off seasons of experience for Mike McDaniel as a head coach. You bring in Odell Beckham Jr., you bring in Jonnu Smith, you bring in the rookies and Jalen Wright and the Washingtons with Malik and Taj, and now you can maybe see what Mike McDaniel fully pictures his offense being, as I don't know when you're going to have a better opportunity to do so with the talent that he has on the roster. The salary cap is certainly going to start to become an issue as Tua's contract will eventually get signed. So this is the last year with Tua under his rookie deal where you'll be able to go out and spend a lot of money like they've done. Bring Odell and Jonnu Smith already to the offense that has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Yes, this offense wants to be run with multiple options. However, that's just simply unrealistic for most of the NFL. And in the NFL, with a salary cap league that it is, you're not going to get a better opportunity with better skill position players that are able to sign off the streets as well as your rookies than what Mike McDaniel has here with him in year 3. So this is going to be the year where we really truly see what this Mike McDaniel offense is. And we've seen in years past that there certainly is something missing from the Mike McDaniel's offense. It has been arguably the best in the league, certainly behind the likes of maybe the 49ers and the Chiefs in offensive, the offensive category, the offensive side of the ball. However, there are things that you can just see Mike McDaniel wants to bring out of this offense, and that's certainly with the options, and maybe not necessarily something that we've seen him truly want, but maybe something that we truly need in a physical element of the game. And you bring that in with another tight end in Jonnu Smith, another passing option in this offense, at the tight end position. And then Jalen Wright, a little bit of a bigger back, still has the speed, a little bit more meat on the bones. So maybe you start to see a little bit more physicality with those two guys being brought in. And then, like I said, the options that Mike McDaniel wants in this offense. And there are question marks about his play calling ability. There was certainly a few Dolphins fans last year, and even Donovan at certain times, that questioned whether Mike McDaniel should have given up the play calling. And I think it's more just the inexperience that he's had at play calling that has drawn questions, and it's certainly something we will see go into the regular season as to if this is something that he has fixed. But the situational play calling, the inability to really lean on the rushing attack when you clearly were seeing better defenses take away Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So I would love to see how Mike McDaniel has continued to adapt the offense, especially with the conglomerate of guys that he's just continued to bring into this offense to make it run better and make Tua's job easier. Number 3, and something that's certainly been a conversation for the Miami Dolphins every year under Mike McDaniel, and really every year as long as I can remember. It's been very exhausting to have to talk about this, but still the offensive line is something that remains in the questions when it comes to not just Mike McDaniel, not just the offense, but the Miami Dolphins as a whole. As again, this goes back multiple regimes that the Miami Dolphins haven't been able to get the offensive line quite right, and it's going to look very different than it did last year. You lose Robert Hunt, you lose Connor Williams. You obviously still have the question marks around Teron Armstead and his ability to stay healthy. As we know, every year you're guaranteed, you can write it in with ink that he's going to miss probably 3 to 5 games at a minimum. And then you bring those new guys in, and they're not first choice guys. You're bringing in Jack Driscoll from the Eagles. You're bringing Anthony Brewer over from the Tennessee Titans. You bring back Isaiah Wynn, who just another guy that you have question marks over his ability to stay healthy, as he missed pretty much almost the entire season last year. I think he played up to the Philadelphia Eagles game and then missed every game from there on out. You bring in Patrick Paul, who is certainly a guy that is capable of a lot of talent. However, he's not going to be able to play at his favorite position at the tackle, starting in year 1 as, again, Teron Armstead and Austin Jackson, somebody who is, I think, now one of the only sure things on the offensive line. You know you're not going to get, top 8 right tackle, ability from him, but you're going to get somebody who can certainly get the job done and in my opinion, continue to improve year in, year out in his ability, and has really honed down that right tackle position. But you look across the board, and there's question marks everywhere. You look at who we brought in, you look at who we lost, you look at the injury concerns on the offensive line. It's certainly something that is a concern for the Miami Dolphins going into the season. However, Mike McDaniel has shown an ability to mismatch, has shown an ability to plug and play. The likes of Liam Eichenberg playing everywhere virtually on the offensive line. You look at what Patrick Paul may do starting on the interior at the guard position. You look around the O-line, and it's not going to be guys playing at their preferred position. It's not going to be guys that, as fans, we probably go into the season saying, oh yes, like this is the offensive line. This is the one that's finally solidified. That's probably not going to be the case. There's probably going to be guys that we don't like playing in positions that they're playing, and there's going to be guys on the team that are playing in positions that they probably don't like to be playing. However, Mike McDaniel has shown the ability to be able to do that and do so with success. Last year, while the line was still healthy, while we still had Armstead, while we still had Connor Williams, while we still had Isaiah Wynn, when we had the true starting lineup at the offensive line positions that Mike McDaniel wanted, it was a top 10 PFF rated offensive line, I believe even top 5 rated offensive line. And we went into that season with serious question marks and not sure whether this was the right group of guys, but that was just who the cards that we were dealt with. And it's probably going to be the case again this year with the offensive line. There's so many options, and going to camp now, there's so many options that I believe as fans we're uncertain where the cards will lie. However, I have found a little bit of a growth in confidence in this team to be able to just plug guys in, and the scheme is certainly elevated. Maybe the talent hasn't elevated, but the scheme is certainly elevated, and there's just a whole host of guys that are in the same talent level, or maybe you have somebody a little bit more talented in Patrick Paul who doesn't have quite the experience and isn't going to be able to play his exact position, and all these guys are going to come together and compete, and I finally trust the Miami Dolphins' ability to watch those guys compete and then throw them at positions they may not necessarily be comfortable in, but then get the best out of them out of those positions. So this is certainly a question, but especially compared to years past, I'm not as concerned about what the offensive line is going to look like once the season starts. Next will be the rookies, and certainly for every team, you look at the rookies and what are they able to do. You look at your first through third round picks, and you expect them to have at the very least minimal impact on the team and play significant snaps starting off. And then you trail into the 4 through 7 and the undrafted guys, and you hope to find a gem in there. Most of them won't be on the team more than a year or two. But with the Miami Dolphins, this is the first year that Mike McDaniel has had a full draft class of 7 guys. They weren't taking 1 through 7 exactly, but eventually ending up with 7 guys that the Miami Dolphins have drafted, again, as well as a whole host of guys to bring in as undrafted free agents. And all of these draft picks are going to be given the opportunity to have immediate impact on this team from the beginning of the season for one reason or another. Let's go down the list of our rookies coming into the year. You look at Chop Robinson, and he's going to be given the ability to compete for the starting edge job day one off the back of Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, who, when healthy, will be the penciled-in guys starting at the edge position, unless Chop or something I'm going to talk about later in Muhammad Kamara, unless they really impress in camp, which it would take a lot to jump Phillips and Bradley Chubb. We saw great success from them last season, but those two guys, of course, are coming to the season hurt. There's question marks whether they'll play week 1 or not. Some are a little bit more optimistic. I'm a little bit more of the pessimistic side, and certainly would like to see those guys become fully healthy before the Miami Dolphins put them out there back onto the field. But Chop Robinson at that edge position is going to get the opportunity to be a week 1 starter, if nothing else, on the basis of those injuries. Patrick Paul, he's not going to play at his preferred tackle position, whether that's left tackle or right tackle. However, inside at the guard positions, you're going to have a competition between himself, Anthony Brewer, Isaiah Wynn, Liam Eichenberg, Jack Driscoll, and probably a few other guys that are going to be able to compete to start day 1 at the guard position. Jalen Wright in the running back position. We look across the league. The cream rises to the top. Whoever is the best guy, while yes, this certainly will be a committee, and Raheem Mostert is likely to find similar success to last year. If Devon Achane is healthy, you just expect his numbers to continue to go up. However, if Jalen Wright goes through camp and he's the best running back, maybe it won't be week 1, week 2, week 3, but certainly by week 4, if he continues to prove he is the most talented guy and is the best guy to give the Dolphins a chance to win each and every game, Jalen Wright will be the starter. So just as a running back room in general, you will have the opportunity to start from day 1, no matter where you are in the league, if you just are that good. Muhammad Kamara, look at the same thing as with Chop Robinson. You have injuries at that position. He will have that ability to step in day 1 and play from day 1 at the edge position if he proves himself to be good enough. You look at both Malik Washington and Taj Washington, I'll cover here. With Odell Beckham signing, it's just a small 1-year deal. Odell may be gone. there's a crazy chance that Odell doesn't even make the team if, it doesn't come to fruition that he is that good. Now, obviously, I don't think that's the case. That is obviously ludicrous, and I think he will be the eventual wide receiver 3. However, Miami Dolphins not having a long-term solution to that position yet, and giving Odell that short-term contract with not a lot of money gives those guys the opportunity to step up and prove themselves in camp, that if they are truly that talented, they can be that long-term answer at the wide receiver 3 position that the Dolphins have clearly been looking for so long, to find consistency and just haven't been able to get it done. And I'm sure they would prefer to have the wide receiver 3 be one of those rookies, so they just can continue to develop. If, worst case scenario, either Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle go down, or even if you end up letting one of those guys go, either via trade or free agency, one way or another, that they can step up and do that job for them. So both the Washingtons and Malik and Taj will have that opportunity. And then you look at Patrick Mahomes at the safety position. We lose Deshaun Elliott in free agency. You bring in Jordan Poyer. You bring in Marcus May, who we signed yesterday. That, again, we weren't able to make a video for you guys, as, again, my setup is just in absolute shambles right now, and Donovan's going through a lot of stuff too on his end, so that's why we haven't been able to come to you guys as often. But yesterday with Marcus May signing, it makes it that more unlikely that Patrick Morris will end up getting that starting spot alongside Javon Holland in the safety position, but you never know. Crazier things have happened. Those late round picks have come in and had immediate impact, a lot more often recently, and we've seen with the Dolphins, undrafted free agents getting the starting spot week 1 if you come out and prove yourself. So you look at all 7 of those rookies, all 7 will have the opportunity to start week 1 if they go out and prove themselves in week 1. And we just look back to last year. Obviously, the Dolphins haven't had a lot of rookies over the last 2 years, as they've been pretty going out there and spending those picks, those first and second round picks, to go acquire talent. So there hasn't been the guys that come in as day 1 picks or even early day 2 picks that have had immediate impact. But Devon Achane came in last year and didn't play much the first few weeks, and then first couple weeks, and then that Denver Broncos game, obviously he explodes and hits the ground running from there. And if not for the injuries, who knows what he could have became. So he was a rookie last year, took his chances, ran with it, and all of those guys I just mentioned will have the opportunity to do so as well. So the last question I'm going to bring up here is, what is this Miami Dolphins defense going to look like? A lot of what I've talked about so far has been about the offensive side of the ball with Tua and Tyreek. Year 3 under the Mike McDaniel offense, the offensive line, a lot of the rookies we're talking about on the offensive side of the ball. But this is going to be a pretty big part of this Miami Dolphins team, and obviously the defensive side of the ball is still very important in the NFL, and the defense of the Miami Dolphins has cost the Dolphins a few games over the last couple of years. This is I think I already mentioned, the 3rd defensive coordinator that Mike McDaniel had, starting with Josh Boyer, who he inherited from the previous regime, bringing Vic Fangio, and that clearly didn't work last year. And the players had come out and not necessarily directly called out Vic Fangio, but there's definitely been some subliminal shots at Vic Fangio since he left the team. And now Anthony Weaver comes in, and we've already seen the team and those defensive players come out in support of Anthony Weaver, and they've supported him by giving, those subliminal shots at Vic Fangio. And like I've already mentioned, the defense was one of the issues with the team last year that let us down in big moments, and there was certainly a lot of blame to go around for why the Dolphins ultimately trickled out at the end of last year. But the defense is one of the biggest things, and while we've certainly seen a decrease in talent, I think it's fair to say you lose Xavier Howard, you lose Christian Wilkins, Emmanuel Ogbah, Andrew Van Ginkel, and a few other guys that are no longer on this team. While you decrease in that realm, I believe you do get an upgrade in coaching, if nothing else, just on the relatability and able to relay what you want to the players in an effective manner, which clearly Vic Fangio wasn't able to do. And we're trying to screw in a system that wasn't quite to what the players on the defensive side of the ball last year were excelling at. You were trying to pigeonhole it, and it wasn't happening. So you do probably find that decrease in talent, but increase in coaching. And now we'll see if they're able to live up to the hype from the offensive side of the ball. So I'm excited to see how the defense runs out this year. I'm excited to see how all these questions end up getting answered. As we go into the summer, go into the season, go into preseason, and everything that's going to come forward from Miami Dolphins. I'm excited to see all these things play out and more, as there's certainly other questions that we could have talked about, but video's already long enough. These are the questions that we've talked about here today. What do you think about these topics? Let us know down below in the comments, as well as other question marks that you have about the Miami Dolphins team. If you have question marks for me as to What is this room going to look like? I don't know, because I'm still trying to make everything work. I moved half my crap around yesterday. The bed was literally where I'm sitting right now. Now that's in the corner. Dresser's over there. Boxes and crap all over, but we're back for now. So good to talk to you guys. Good to be back. A little bit of a longer video here for you guys today, but hope you enjoyed. Again, let us know what you think about the questions for the Dolphins and just anything Dolphins related that you are thinking about right now that has maybe come to your mind in a point in the off season where it's gone a little bit dull. The storylines are not quite there, and we're just waiting for action. So let us know all your thoughts down below in the comments. While down there, hit that like button, hit that sub button. Appreciate y'all very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Go Dolphins.